It's an interesting little pattern that the glue gun is creating there by dripping onto the layout. So I'm beginning to lay the new track, the Code 55, the microengineering stuff that I bought 1.5 years ago when I started this adventure. And what I'm doing right now, I actually laid it out a little bit before yesterday, and I was looking at it this morning, and I didn't really think about making sure that the joiners on the tracks are lined up just a little bit past the gap right here. Since this piece is going to lift out, I want the track on this side of the layout to extend over a little bit, so when I put it back in, put the rail joiners back in there, there's a nice little bit of support there for the track to transition, even if I glue it down, which I'm not going to be able to do with this because my idea is still going to be the same, for this to be removable with magnets, I think is what I'm going to do. But so I'll be able to plug it in, Barb's your uncle. So I moved this, rejiggered all this right through here in order to get that to line up where I want it to. And I've got these nice little steel machinist blocks to kind of hold this track down into place. And it's really kind of more to kind of hold the foam down as well, because I'm getting ready to hot glue the foam into position. This is kind of a critical area, or maybe not critical, but it's my least favorite thing to have to do is to do things like this, because I'd much rather be slathering on some scenery by now. But I've got to take care of things like this first. So along the back side here, get a piece of track instead of my arm. Back here is going to be I think I'm just going to do a highway. And I'm going to use my leftover pieces of the Woodland Scenic Riser to fill in that gap all the way along here, and then whatever else I need to fill in will be with spray foam or blue foam or pink foam or whatever foam I happen to have it laying around here. I may have a little something or another, maybe a couple buildings. There's enough room back here to have a couple buildings. Maybe a gas station and maybe put my Dairy Queen building back here, I don't know. You can always use one of my 3D printed buildings too. But it's going to come around, and then we're going to cross the highway over here, and I'm going to get one of those. I'm either going to get the Rick's Products overpass, or I'm going to 3D print one. I haven't decided yet. But either way, the highway is going to come up over here, and it's going to still be elevated, so I'm going to have to create a little bit of a some scenery here that transitions downward from there, because it's going to be, 2.5 inches up in the air here. And then I'm going to have a slope off somewhere right in here, wherever I end up putting that highway overpass, which of course is not going to go over the gap. So I've got to decide if I'm going to put it on this section of the layout, or if I'm going to have it on this section of the layout, and again just hold it down with magnets, because I want it to be, if I put it on this side of the layout, I want it to be removable, but I don't want it to be so removable that it could just fall off with the slightest bump. So magnets would be nice to hold that down, and they're cheap enough and they'll work. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that. If I go over here and then cut across, that means I'm going to have to put another cut in the foam right here and a cut in the highway. So I think I might want to limit it to about right in this area. I might come right over where the elevation starts right here, and it's just going to be a straight, is what I'm thinking. I'm envisioning in my head, along with those sugar plums dancing around, and come around just straight across here. And then I've got that third track that's going to come under there. So it's probably going to be, if I get the Rick's Products bridge, it's going to be one of those 150-foot jobbers to get across here. And this guy right here, I'm still not sure exactly how this is going to work. I'm not going to know until I actually get the track. But I'm envisioning this coming around here, and then kind of doing the same thing as I had with these Code 65, feeding this industry, and then going back up under there into the bridge and back around. And what that's going to end up doing is eventually, when it gets to the other side of the layout, these two tracks will be connected, and then it wouldn't be anything different than if I, did something like that right here. It's just that I'm moving this to the other end of the layout. Effectively is what I'm thinking I'm doing. I am going to run a double main line. I've decided I'm just going to do that. I will have to buy a lot more track, even if I wasn't going to do the double main line. I'd still have to buy track. I need some micro engineering. I figured I need 18 pieces. That'll be 3 packs that I'm going to have to order at $27 a pack. But that is actually cheaper than the Atlas stuff, which I have right here, this piece right here, because it happens to fill in nicely because of that switch over here. It makes it just the same length as the micro engineering. But 6 pieces for $27 versus 5 pieces for $30 is what that typically goes for. The cheapest it goes for. This is usually $5 to $6 a stick. So anyway, the micro engineering, I like it because it's weathered. It's pre-weathered already. You just scrape the paint off the top of the rail and you're done. Very easy to do. One of the issues I'm going to have with this is, like I said in the previous video, I think I said in the previous video, is the turns, the Atlas turns, and the wheel flanges. I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do to fix that. Hopefully I don't have too many locomotives that have that issue, but I know of at least 2 that do. I'm going to have to take care of that. So as far as curves go, I'm quite satisfied with how many curves I have, the excessive amount of curves. I'm satisfied as in I'm not going to have to buy any. I've got enough. Go over here. That's the 18.75 radius. I've got 4 stacks of 4 over there. Well, that stack is 3, but the other one is sitting on that, well, it's sitting right there. So I've got 4 stacks of 4, and I've already used 4 over there and 4 over there, which means I only need 2 more stacks, because it takes 4, not 5, 4 to do a half radius. So I'm going to need, pan over here, I'm going to need 4 more over in that corner. There's the California Mohawk, and I'm going to need 4 more in that corner for the outer radius. The inner radius is the 17.5, which as you can see, have got more than enough to choke a small donkey with. Courtesy of building that Helix. So I've got plenty of curves. I don't need to order any more curves. I had to separate and kind of sort all this stuff out. I've got a new package of unopened straight track, 6-inch straight. I've also got like about 2 or 3 packs worth sitting here. I may have to get a couple more of these. I don't know. We'll see. It's good to have some of these to kind of fill in some gaps on the you got to fill in with the flex. So I don't really want to cut the flex. I'd much rather cut this stuff up, and piece it into there than the flex track. Just, kind of my thing. This is that 30.609 stuff, which is for turnouts, coming out of the turnout. I've got a couple packs of that. I've also got these half turns, which I think are, I don't know if these are 18 or 20s, but they're the half turns of that radius. And then I've got some various chunks of micro engineering that I ended up cutting for when I was doing the steam shop. Had those left over. And then I've got these little shorties too right here. So I think I'm pretty good, except for I need 18 pieces of micro engineering track. But I think I'm probably pretty good everywhere else. I am going to have to get some more switches. No surprise there. Well, I do have a decent number of them. I'm going to need a lot more. probably. All of these switches except this one, but all these switches, and I've got a Y here too, I think that's the Y, were bought for the steam shop yard. So whatever switches I use here is going to end up having to be replaced for that steam shop, unless I just do something interesting with a roundhouse and a turntable right there, which I'm kind of pondering. So I've got a few Atlas 55s. I think these are sevens, number sevens. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, lost focus. Got to switch to macro. Trying to see. It says code 55 Atlas N scale China number 2052, I think is what it says. Anyway, I think these are 17. I'll have to look that number up. They're either, I mean, sevens or number fives, one of the two. Anyway, Atlas is out of stock on these things, or at least model MB Klein is out of stock on most of those, and they have, I think they have a left hand to the number 5, and they have a right hand to the number 7, or maybe it's vice versa. But either way, they don't have both in number 5 or number 7. And that was the way it was like a year ago when I bought these. Atlas must be having some supply problems again. And so is Microengineering, because these Microengineering switches don't even show up on MB Klein's website anymore, which is really kind of a pisser. I like these because they lock like the Picos do, which is really nice, but I've only got a couple. 3 of those, 2 of those, 3 of those. It's not a big deal. I'm going to do some switch machines since they're only $7 to $10 a piece. I'm going to go ahead and do those. I don't know if I'm going to do them on every switch on the layout, but I'm going to at least do it on the ones that I know that I'll probably use more than rarely. So it might be the yard switches, and it might be any kind of switches if I have any siding track on here. It might be for that, but for right now I got to order more track, so I decided I have enough to do like this section of the layout, so I figured I'd go ahead and start laying this out and maybe start getting this foam hot glued, and then start doing some shaper sheets, or what do they call them, to go over this and smooth it out, start blending this down into the base foam there, and go from there. So that is the update as of December 29th, 2018. A couple more days until 2019. Let's see how far I can get before then. I'm going to go ahead and hot glue the highway back here, as you can see it. I've already gone it and done this piece right here. That's why I've got the machinist block on here to keep it weighed down. So I'm just going to be hot gluing this down, since I can't get back there and do an edge bead like I was doing on the front piece here. I'm just going to be lifting it up like that and smearing some hot glue down here like so. And this stuff is hot enough that it will stay hot long enough for me to get it down here. And I'm spacing this back a little bit from the front piece in order for me to have a little bit of room for scenery back in here, and also a little bit of play in this front piece as well. So now I'm going to do this other piece over here as well. And the hot glue sets up fairly quickly. Of course, you don't want it to set up too terribly fast, and you want to make sure to have extra glue sticks on hand when you're doing this, so that you don't run out in mid-squirt. And also, you don't want your dang hot glue gun to be having a problem squirting, because that's not a good thing. So we'll just put this back down in here. I'm keeping it far enough away from the wall that I can get my backdrop back there. And now I'll just put this back over here, kind of weigh this down in a couple places, and there we go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I'm going to have to lift this section up and hot glue it underneath as well, because I can't get back in here. So before I do that, I'm going to mark it with the pencil so I have a rough idea. Of course, the pencil wants to go where I don't want it to go. I guess if it digs into the frickin' foam, who cares, right? Jeepers, crime, it's just cutting right into the dang old foam instead of actually drawing anything on there. Maybe I should have used a Sharpie for that, but anyway, there we go. So let's go ahead and move the track out of the way here. And of course, there's always tons of pieces and clips and stuff that are in the way. Everything just always seems to be in the way when you're trying to do stuff. Oh well. Give this a squirt. I guess I could just run a bead like that. That's probably quicker just to do it that way, actually. And there we go. Put those blocks on here, like so. And that one over there, and zoom in on that. This one over here, I've already hot glued part of it on the front right there, but I'm gonna try to lift it up a little bit here and get some squirts under here, like so, and put that guy back down. That block across both halves, and then we kill two birds with one stone. Unnecessary, I'm pretty sure, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know what? I'm just going to use up that hot glue stick and just waste it a little bit there. Okay. All right. So now, since that's all set up over here, I can go ahead and just remove these pins. And I got one more over here in the center, and there we go. So let's see here, where am I? Okay, so there we go. Put this back down like so. And that's where the double main line ends up running. It ends up getting right along the outer edge of that foam, but that's okay because I'm going to have scenery extending beyond this a little bit. You know, when I do the shaper sheet, I've got the foam around here, which I'm going to use spray foam for that. So right here, I've got this piece curved to sort of match the curve on the main line right here. And you go ahead and hot glue this. Just scribe along there and mark it. I got to do the same thing with the other one over here that's out of frame. We'll do that next. Now, the fact I'm doing this on its side, it's not really intended to bend this way, so it's a little bit more difficult to do so. I'm going to get my pliers here, pull these pins out of here, but I'd imagine you, if you really wanted to, you probably could just scenic over these pins. But this plier is a little bit magnetic. You probably can scenic over those, but that would be, well, I don't know. Wasteful is what I was going to say, but they're only $2, so I don't know how wasteful that is. So since we have some curvature on this, there's going to be more stress on this, so I want to make sure that I get a good bead along here. Just to make sure that it will stay in place once it is down. And I may have to, doesn't have to be perfect, you know. We're just doing this, and then I'm going to fill in the backside there with stuff. Give it a little bit of hold time. I like the smell of hot glue. I couldn't really tell you why, but I like the smell of hot glue. I'm being crafty. Okay, so there we go. That is down. And I gotta get another hot glue gun. The problem with these dang hot glue sticks is that, you know, you go through half a stick and all of a sudden these guns can't melt the glue hot enough to get it to come out right away. So then you gotta wait for it to warm up that other half the stick. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of a bead along here. And I've run out of my glue stick again. I can never seem to have enough glue stick. It's kind of like when I play CSGO or Doom 3. I'm always running out of ammo. Okay, so this is just to give it a little bit extra support along here. I think it's probably going to be strong enough, but I know I'm out of frame here. Doing the end there. I think I was out of frame anyway, but there we go. So we got that one. Let's go ahead and do the last piece there. And it'll be basically the exact same thing. Let this hot glue gun warm up. Downside to hot glue gun is that you get all these little stringy things everywhere. Across your camera, across your track, across you, everything else in between. This doesn't have to be as big a deal because we're only doing just some straight stuff here. Just enough to get it to stick into the bench there. And I don't want to do too crazy of a gluing in case I ever, you know, I shouldn't say in case, I should say when I have to take this stuff back up. It'll be a little bit easier. Maybe I won't have to get the pry bar after it like I did the last one. Yeah, when I was taking apart that HO side with that I had the riser across there, I had to get the pry bar out, which ended up basically destroying the board underneath there trying to pry it. So that's why I wasn't able to reuse a lot of that track. So let's go ahead and make a filler piece for the corner now. Okay, so I need to fill in this area right here. And what I'm going to use is I've got some scrap 2-inch foam. And I just need to cut this to fit this area right in here. So what I did was since this stupid pencil doesn't want to actually write on the foam, I gouged a mark right here and I gouged one on the other edge over here. And then I started to draw a line there, and then I got the idea I could just use a piece of track to get my radius there, which is actually quite a bit narrower than I was doing there. But nevertheless, we'll just go ahead and, doesn't have to be skin tight. In fact, a little bit of extra there loose is going to probably be beneficial. Okay, so we'll just gouge that into the foam there. Now we can start cutting it. So we'll just use some, I'll just try to use some, I don't really want to have to get out the hot wire, the hot foam cutter here, but if I have to, I have to. Just score that down all the way. Of course, a nice sharp blade is what we're going to really want here, but we'll just score that like so. And then we'll score this down here, maybe. Do the same on this side over here. Try not to slice our fingers off. Okay, so now I can take the track and reposition it, and then we can kind of use that to score this side. This doesn't have to be perfect because we will just fill this in with the shaper sheet and the spray foam later. That was a little bit off, but that's okay. We'll get back in there and just kind of curve that into that other one we just did there. Okay, so we'll just cut that out. We'll score this a little bit further down here. Pull this blade back a little bit so it doesn't break. I think we can get halfway through this side, and we'll do halfway through this side, and it'll either just come apart or we'll just break it apart. And there we go. And then we could save that for something else. And we got foam chunks everywhere. Who says this stuff isn't messy? Okay, so we're pretty close. Gonna have to chop off a little bit here. See how that fits. And I gotta do a little bit more. I'm gonna do over here. Over here on this edge is where we're getting our issue. I like the razor blade, a sharp razor blade, because it gives you a nice smooth cut there most of the time. Okay, and that fits just fine there. So I got a track. I've got a frickin' nail back here still. I pulled it out without realizing that was in there. Do I have any more back here? Nope. Okay. Now this should fit down in there. And it does. And I have plenty of room in the back corners back here to get my backdrop in there. Alright, so I'm just going to have to cut a little bit. Well, I could probably fill the rest of that in with spray foam. I just wanted to get the majority of that cut. Probably could somehow creatively use this little chunk. Let's go ahead and mark that, because we can just cut that right there, and then we can use this guy to fill that in like so. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just need something to act as kind of like a base so we don't have to fill that whole chasm full of spray foam. But there you go. Nice, easy stuff. And this is actually fairly old foam, actually. And we'll take that little chunk, and that little chunk fits right in there. Very nice. Okay. We'll probably take this little chunk too that we cut off and just stick that in right there like so. Okay, so the hot glue gun should be hot. Still. Should be nice and hot. Get myself another glue stick here. And we'll put that in. We'll do the little piece first since that's the easiest. If you want to draw your initials on there, a smiley face, go to town on it there. Okay. I like those machinist blocks. Those things come in very handy for a lot of things. There's other people on YouTube that I've noticed use those nowadays, but I got that tip from Modeler Man Mike a few years ago. I wish he was still doing videos because I really enjoyed his Walther's buildings. Okay, so let's put that there. It's nice and level between those two. Okay, so let's go ahead and reload our gun here. Lock and load like that. This is a dual temp gun. We've got a little switch down here so it works at either low or high, and the glue sticks are also both temp, so we can work either way with that. This is one of the things that I really liked from when I did this with the HO layout. The hot glue gun is just so nice. You can just get this stuff done quick and easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. We're going to draw a little face right here. There we go. And then we're just going to stick him right on back down there. Get him spread away from the wall. Slid away from the wall. Might be a little bit better terminology. And I got a little bit of not so much of a gap between the door frame here, but that's okay. We can just kind of cut that out later probably. Okay, just let that sit there for a little bit. And I may need a little more weight on that corner. Paint cans will also work too. If you need some extra weight to fit down into these, to sit on this stuff here, you can always get some paint cans there. And it doesn't want to fit down in there now. Okay, well that's all right because we'll just fill that chasm up with, well, I probably don't need to fill up with spray foam actually. It's not like there's going to be any problem with gluing anything to the top of this. Okay, so I just need to figure out a little piece of foam to put on top of this or something to put on top of this that'll bring it up to the level of the Woodland Scenics risers here. And we'll be good to go.